Today we're going to preview the Minnesota Vikings Baltimore Ravens game. Can JJ McCarthy handle all the blitzing that he is going to see on Sunday? We'll talk about that. We'll also pull some of the comments that you've been sending in, talk about those on the UP.
I don't know who I am. Can I say?
Powered by Riverside FM.
The Minnesota Vikings face the Baltimore Ravens on Sunday. Couple of things that I'm looking forward to is, can the Minnesota Vikings string together two back-to-back well-schemed, well-called games on both sides of the ball? I think last Sunday was Brian Flores' best schemed game of the season, and I don't think KOC was a slouch. Although he made some mistakes at the end with some of the time management stuff, that's going to be KOC, but I want to see if they can put together two back-to-back games. I want to see if JJ McCarthy can put together two really good back-to-back games. I am of belief that when you are a rookie quarterback in this league, there's a lot of ebb and flows, and so it'll be interesting to see JJ McCarthy come back against the Ravens, where I think the Ravens are going to be really, really blitz-heavy, UP Nation. I think they are going to be very, very blitz-heavy. I think the one thing that the Ravens want to do is hang their hats on their defense. That is their tradition. That is kind of their legacy. I think the comments that the Ravens defense is trash or terrible this year, that's been overstated. Like, I don't see that. They haven't been traditionally the good Ravens defenses that we've seen in the past with Ray Lewis and the fellas. And even after Ray Lewis, they had some pretty good years defensively. So identity-wise, man, they have always held their hat on being a really, really, really good defensive team. So I think they look at a rookie quarterback like JJ McCarthy, who has 3 starts under his belt. And I know he's had a year in the league, but I call him a rookie because, again, last year was a wash. I think they're going to look to rattle him a little bit. I think the book is out on JJ McCarthy, where in terms of they can't allow him to stand back there and be comfortable. Number one, he's too cerebral. JJ McCarthy is too cerebral. He's going to dissect your defense. If you give him time, he's going to make plays. So I think the Baltimore Ravens are going to dial up a lot of exotic things. And I think they're going to try to flush him out of the pocket more times than not. See, I think JJ McCarthy is really good on script, but it kind of depends on how the Baltimore Ravens blitz this thing. Like, they just can't let him stand back there. I think Harbaugh understands that. Don't think the brothers don't talk to each other about strengths and weaknesses of JJ McCarthy. That is definitely going to come into play. So I think the Minnesota Vikings are going to be hard-pressed to do a couple of things. I think, number one, the offensive line has to protect. And I think there are going to be times where they may have to keep a running back in on passing plays to give JJ McCarthy a little bit of support. When that extra blitzer comes in, you've got that running back there to be able to pass block. I think they're going to have to do some of that. I think they're going to have to max protect at times, keeping their tight ends in. At times, I don't think the Ravens are going to throw a whole dose of blitzing. I'm just saying that they are going to blitz a little bit more than they do normal weeks. That is my prediction. I think JJ McCarthy and KOC is going to have to rely on the running game. I said it in previous videos, I would be a little bit careful of running Aaron Jones a whole lot. He's got that sprained shoulder, man, and sprained shoulders equal turnovers, especially when guys start trying to punch that ball out. That's an in thing in the NFL now. You're seeing it more than ever. Defensive backs, linebackers, I mean, we do it a lot. Guys coming in there trying to punch the ball out. And when you don't have that full strength in your shoulder to protect that football, it tends to come out. When Aaron Jones running the piles, guys are trying to pull at the ball, strip the ball. Believe me, the Baltimore Ravens understand that Aaron Jones is injured, limited in practice the past couple of days. They are going to be trying to pull that ball out of there. So in terms of giving Aaron Jones a big bulk of carries, I think the Minnesota Vikings are going to have to be really, really careful with what they do. I think they should rely on Jordan Mason a little bit more to run the football for sure. I look at the Baltimore Ravens, and Lamar Jackson is the head of the snake. I don't think B-Flow can call the same game. You know, B-Flow's been getting a lot of credit for his matchup when he was with the Miami Dolphins against Lamar Jackson. I mean, he was Lamar Jackson's kryptonite. I think back in the day when B-Flow used to coach the Miami Dolphins, I think Lamar Jackson has really grown as a quarterback, and I just don't think you can blitz Lamar like that. I know coming out of college and early in his career, man, people were talking about Lamar Jackson doesn't have the ability to throw the ball down the field. He's not accurate. Lamar Jackson can't read defenses. Lamar Jackson is not a pocket quarterback. And I think over the years, he has proven that wrong, proven all of those speculations wrong. He's proven it wrong. And I look at this game, and I don't think you can heavy blitz him. Like, I don't think you can zero blitz him. I don't think you can dial up a lot of exotic stuff. It's going to be interesting to see what B-Flow does there, because what happens when you blitz and you miss, you open up a lot of lanes. So defensively, we may have to spy a little bit more on the back end of those blitz. I think we may have to have some zone coverages behind some of those blitzes. If we do, I just don't think that it's going to be a heavy dose of blitzing from Brian Flores. I would be really, really surprised, unless the Minnesota Vikings have just changed his philosophy where now they're going to go blitz happy like they did against the Detroit Lions. When you look at games like the Cleveland Browns game, when they played Dylan Gabriel, you thought that that would be a blitz-heavy game for Brian Flores. It wasn't a blitz-heavy game for Brian Flores. They wanted the young quarterback in the Cleveland Browns to sit back there, think about what he's seeing, and allow him to make some mistakes instead of forcing the envelope, which was really surprising to me about a Brian Flores defense. Then they come out against Jared Goff. They did a really, really good job of getting him off his space. A lot of those A and B gap blitzes up the middle where Goff had to move off his spot. Goff is not necessarily a great quarterback on the run, so they were just moving him out of the pocket. I think Lamar Jackson is the exact opposite type quarterback. Like, I don't think you want him running around and playing. So I think they're going to have to do a lot of spying. They're going to have to do a lot of containing. They're going to have to do a lot of situational blitzing and make him read a lot at the line of scrimmage. I think if they can turn Lamar Jackson into a reader of defenses for the most part in that game, I think the Minnesota Vikings are going to have a good opportunity to win that game, because it's going to limit and make Lamar Jackson think in certain situations, and I think that bodes well for the Minnesota Vikings. But I think the Minnesota Vikings definitely are going to have to put a little bit of pressure and mix some things up on Lamar Jackson. So it's going to have to be, 50-50 in terms of what they do, and B-Flow is really, really good at mixing up some things. Offensive side of the ball, I think KOC has to do his best in helping JJ McCarthy as best as he can. Like, I think the blitzes are going to be there. So I think, as always, I say this every week, I sound like a broken record, but they're going to have to stay away from these long 5 to 6 step drops in JJ McCarthy, allow him run some plays to get rid of the ball quick while establishing that running game. And I think that if you can keep JJ McCarthy in that box, just doing those things, running the football, quick throws, allowing him to make some plays, don't handcuff him. Don't handcuff him. I think JJ McCarthy is going to go out there, and JJ McCarthy is going to make some plays for the Minnesota Vikings. I think, when we looked at this schedule at the beginning of the season, when we talked about the Philadelphia Eagles, we talked about the Chargers, we talked about the Detroit Lions, and then the Ravens. Like, I don't think the Ravens team is what everyone expected them to be. They still have some dogs on that team. And so the Minnesota Vikings are going to have to come with it on Sunday. It's not like they can half step. But I do think the Minnesota Vikings have a great chance to win this football game and win 2 in a row. What a difference a week makes, man. Last week, we were kind of down in the dumps. I think the whole Minnesota Viking fan base was down in the dumps. Everybody was going in hard on KOC, Kwesi, and Brian Flores, and deservedly so in some aspects. I wasn't on board with the whole fire everybody thing, but deservedly so. They deserved a lot of criticism. And sometimes when you feel that heat, man, that is what you need to get going. I don't think anybody in the Minnesota Vikings organization enjoyed last week. So I think the Minnesota Vikings need to come with just a great game plan and a great scheme for Sunday. And I think the Minnesota Vikings can be all right. Want to read some of the comments that people have been sending over the last week. My guy, Todd Olner, 5393, said, "Indeed, I thought we should have kept Sam Darnold. We would have had a couple or more wins by the time JJ McCarthy was healthy. I mean, he probably would not have gotten the ankle sprain either. What if? Listen, man, the whole Sam Darnold thing, I think that thing is going to play itself out. I'm not in agreement that we should have kept Sam Darnold. For me, it's about maximizing that rookie contract, being able to build a team around a decent quarterback. I know when you look at Sam Darnold, what he's doing in Seattle is hard to watch. But then I say, let's see what he does in the playoffs. I'll eat crow, and I'll come on here and admit that I'm wrong. If he does well in the playoffs and can get the Seattle Seahawks to the Super Bowl, I will definitely come on here and eat some crow, but I don't think that's going to happen. I'm happy with the move that the Minnesota Vikings made in terms of JJ McCarthy. Next comment, World by Now. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. World by Now 2057. He said, I'm glad we kept everyone in terms of the trade deadline. I've been trying to trade Addison since his rookie year, but he's McCarthy's most familiar target. That is true. I am pretty sure he'll be traded before the offseason. Interesting season, but the team's possibilities will weigh heavily on this Sunday's game versus the Ravens. At home underdog and the NFL's highest rated passer by a lot in terms of Lamar Jackson, 136 QBR, who's also the league's best runner. He picks the Vikings 27-24. I agree with a lot of those statements. I didn't see Addison getting traded during the trade deadline. You know, that is always on the table with Addison just because of his off-the-field stuff. So I think the Minnesota Vikings are going to be consistently looking at that. Depending on what type of deals they get during the offseason, I'm on the side of the fence now that I think unless the Minnesota Vikings are blown away with something, they are not going to get rid of Jordan Addison too quickly. Unless there's another incident, unless something happens, they're not going to get rid of Jordan Addison too quickly. I think Jordan Addison is on this team until at least they start to negotiate contracts where they can see what they can get. What can they sign Jordan Addison for? If Jordan Addison is asking for astronomical type money, I think definitely you have to move him. You have to let him know you're not going to invest in that wide receiver room like that with Jets and Jordan Addison. Like, I don't see that. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what Jordan Addison is going to demand, but I don't think the Minnesota Vikings are going to trade him anytime soon. Rue Branch 1 sent in a comment that said 143 yards. Okay. GMFB, which I think Woo Branch is talking about. Why is everybody getting so excited over the 143-yard by JJ McCarthy in the Lions game? Well, number one, he beat the Lions. You know, the Vikings have been on a losing streak to the Lions. I think a 5-game losing streak to the Lions. So number one, he beat the Lions. Number two, he made some key plays during that game. You know, people like to compare what Sam Darnold is doing. Sam Darnold never came in and came close to ever having a game like that against the Detroit Lions. I mean, he failed a lot when he played the Lions, especially in the red zone. He could have get it done. So it goes back to what I'm saying about stats. Like, who cares about the stats? JJ McCarthy threw for 143 yards. You know, that's not lighting it up, but that's definitely not garbage either. Alongside with him making the plays that he made during that game, man, I will take the 143-yard game. Lucas Family 1000 says stats are for losers. Stats help build a picture. Stats help build a picture about what's going on in the game, what's going on with each individual player. I just think a lot of people hang their hats on stats. Like Kirk Cousins gave us a lot of empty stats. You know, I thought Sam Darnold at times last year gave us a lot of empty stats. I think when you look at JJ McCarthy, you look at his 143 yards, that's a very efficient game. You could say he earned every bit of those 143 yards. It's crazy, man. My guy Purple Soda says he's got to give it to JJ. I'm very happy with our defense versus the Lions, but I think JJ balled out for the most part. The throw at the end was a vicious throw. It was a vicious throw. And I thought it was a great game plan all around for the Vikings. Can they duplicate that? Was that a one-off? You know, the fact that JJ McCarthy and KOC were on the same page, that last throw to kind of seal the game, I was really impressed that KOC had the wherewithal and the confidence to let JJ McCarthy throw in that situation. You know, but it goes in with, was it a confidence thing in JJ McCarthy or was that KOC being KOC? Like when you have short yardage situations, like I'm not a big fan. I'm a big fan of KOC as a head coach. I'm just not necessarily a big fan of KOC in play calling situations. Like I think he needs to work on that area when it comes to play calling. Definitely. Those are some of the comments people sent in to UP Nation. Keep writing your comments down on the video. We're going to make a point to every week pull some of these comments, talk about those. So make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and comment on the videos, and we'll talk about it. You guys know that I'm not afraid to shout back at you. Minnesota Vikings versus the Ravens on Sunday. Finally got a string of noon games, so I'm sure that feels good for Kevin O'Connell and the boys in the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota Vikings, I think, wins this game. It'll be close. It'll be a 27-type game similar to the defensive Lions. The Minnesota Vikings have to continue to score points, and a lot of it is going to be How comfortable can KOC make JJ McCarthy? Can JJ McCarthy continue to make plays off script? I know if it comes down to the wire where we have to make clutch plays, I believe in JJ McCarthy. This has been Unconventional Playbook. Please hit that like and subscribe button. And as always, UP Nation, we will see ya when we see ya. Skol!